I'm just crazy enough that I just believe God. If he said it, I believe it's going to come to pass. I just believe things are going to happen just like God says. Regardless of the circumstance and the situation, I just believe that God's going to work it out for my good. You got to understand this, saints of God, that if you're in a situation where it's too easy, I have to believe God's not in it. Because you have to be in a situation that is far more difficult that you cannot do by yourself. You got to have God to move in. And when you step back and take a survey of it, you say it could not be anybody but the Lord. Anybody going through anything right now that can understand what I'm talking about, just raise your hands up and shout hallelujah. Hallelujah to God. So we begin to pick up in this text how that now Joshua, they're dispensing of the property, the things that God had promised them. Every tribe was given what they were promised. And then we find that Joshua, when he was 40, he was strong. He was a man of valor. He wanted to receive everything that God had. But now he had to wait. And you have to understand that sometimes in the waiting, it's not necessarily a denial. Sometimes in the waiting, God is trying to develop some character in you so that you can be able to handle some situations. Hallelujah. I'm not going to get no help on that because we don't really want to mature. Because that's some difficult things. Sometimes God said, not yet. Not now. I got some members inside, they can tell you, 5 years ago, I'm not the man that I am now. 5 years ago, I made some mistakes that I'm not making now. 5 years ago, I was doing some stuff. I'm not saying I was in sin, but some decisions that I was making, I was a little hasty. I was moving too fast. I didn't wait on God. But now I've got some season. I know how to wait a little while. I don't have to rush to anything. I can have some maturity and know that God's going to work it out. Even if it doesn't come the way I want it, he will work it out for my good. Clap your hands and shout hallelujah. Hallelujah. And so we begin to see this man Caleb. And when you deal with Caleb, you have to understand the Jewish customs. When we as African Americans, what we do, we get some names that we make up. It sounds good. Yeah. Hallelujah. And I ain't gonna mess with nobody tonight. But I've gone into Walmart and I've seen some folk with the name badges. That's just one place. And I've seen some folk with some names. I was wondering, what was Mama and Daddy thinking about when they named you? And it's not the children's fault. Sometimes you're just born with that name. And sometimes you begin to wonder, what were you thinking about? But when you look at Jewish customs, they did not just name a child any name. They would look at the characteristics of the child. They would see what the child would become. And not only that, but they would name the child a name of what his future will be. Hallelujah to God. See, we come up with some crazy stuff. And sometimes we name a child for what we're going through at that time. We do some situations, we do some crazy things. But when they named the child, it meant something about the character that the child would have. When you look at the name of Caleb in several different dictionaries, we call his name meaning dog. And I was wondering, Lord, why is his name meaning dog? And I did a little further study and I found out it means tenacity. It means that he had a fight. He had a drive in him that no matter what would come his way, he had something down in him that wouldn't allow him to quit. You see, so many times we get scared when we survey the situation. Hallelujah to God. Let me back up. A few years, many years ago, when my grandmother was living, and we were just little nappy-head kids walking down the street, and we would pick up cans for the community. And my grandmother would have us and all my little knucklehead brothers and cousins. We were all boys, and we would always walk down the street with her. She would always walk with a stick. Not talking about a cane. She had a stick in her hand. And one day we came up on a house. A dog come running at us. And then she stood there, and all of us bad boys, we thought we were something. We all got scared and started running. She said, stop running. I was thinking to myself, why is she telling us to stop running? And so we stopped running. he was growling. He was showing his teeth. My grandmother stood there looking at that dog. And that dog looked at her and realized this crazy black woman ain't going to step down. Hallelujah. And the dog turned around, ran back to the yard. You see, sometimes you'll look at the dog and you think because it's a big dog, it's got some fight. But saints of God, it's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. Glory be to God. You look at me, you see all my inadequacies. But I still got something down on the inside of me that won't let me quit, won't let me give up, won't let me throw in the towel, won't let me give in. I got a fight inside of me, and I want to do it until God says it's done. Oh, clap your hands and shout hallelujah. Hallelujah to God. You see, saints of God, let me encourage the chef. Some of you are here and you're wondering when we're going to do something. I look back on Zion. We've been in existence since 1994. Bishop Parker started the work. I joined the ministry in 1995. We took over pastoring in 2003. We've gone through some things. My wife and I can tell you that we had some folk that when we took over pastoring just took up and left us. We had a good growing membership. We thought we were on our way. As soon as they made me pastor, half of the church left. They walked out on us. Couldn't pay the mortgage. Couldn't do anything. Barely keeping the lights on. I'm wondering how we going to make it through this. Hallelujah to God. You see, some folks don't understand what I'm talking about. I thank God there was a Baptist preacher who owned the building. I had enough sense to go down there and talk to Reverend T.L. Dilworth. I sat in his office and said, Dr. Dilworth, I ain't got no money. Dr. Dilworth, half the people left. Dr. Dilworth, it's just about 5 of us. He says, son, I've been where you've been. I've been where you are. I told them deacons, leave that boy alone. Let that boy alone. They're going to be just fine. Glory be to God. I told them this is the plan that I got. Let us work and we're going to get the mortgage caught up. Just work with us and we're going to get everything in order. That man worked with us until we got that building paid off. And then God began to turn some things around. Hallelujah to God. Now my wife and I are talking every now and then. And sometimes we have to say, I thank God for the ones that left. Hallelujah to God. I thank God for the ones who turned their back on us. I thank God for the ones